Okay everybody, this is mooneydashcam. Today we're in Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan. We're talking about a pretty regular club owner that ended up killing one of John Gotti's close friends, one of his associates, and he was actually a Gambino soldier at the time, and nothing came of it. He was never charged for the murder, and the mob never came after him for the murder. Pretty interesting story, so let's flip this around and get into it. This incident happened in 1988. The address that we're going to is 316 West 49th Street. It was the Bedrocks Club, like I said, in Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at mooneydashcam. I'm posting there pretty much every single day. Any of the crime scene photos that I can't post on YouTube end up on the Instagram, so check that out. Also, don't forget to leave suggestions for future videos in the comments. I very much appreciate those. I get a lot of inspiration that way. Also, hit the notification bell so you guys know exactly when I post a new video. Okay, let's get into this. So the gangster in question today is Anthony Shorty Mascuzio, a 43-year-old Gambino soldier. Now I know I said we're going to the Bedrocks Club, but the name it had before was Better Days Disco. It was a very successful dancing spot where on a busy night people said over 1,500 people would jam in there. 85% of the place was a dance floor. There was like a $3 cover charge. Celebrities of all kind went there. I'm too young to know most of those celebrities, but the one name I did recognize was Mick Jagger. By one of the partiers, they said the place was filled with mostly gay black youth. Apparently it was a pretty rough area at the time. It was close to where the old Madison Square Garden was, and it was a very seedy, crime-filled area. But that place was very popular in those times. Bruce Forrest, who was a regular DJ there, who ended up becoming a pretty famous DJ doing a lot of songs with a lot of people. He was there one night in 1988 when a bunch of guys in suits came in and went to the office to meet with David Fisher, the 53-year-old co-owner of the club. His real name was actually Al Roth. He changed it randomly in 1987 and said if anyone asks about Al Roth, say he's dead. So I don't know what this guy was involved in. Maybe he just hated the name, I'm not sure, but he definitely changed the name and didn't want to be any part of what Al Roth was about. So who knows what that situation's about. But Bruce Forrest checked in on him after they left, and he was sitting there in a puddle of sweat, and Bruce asked, who the fuck were those guys? And David Fisher goes, those were John Gotti's guys. I think I was just bought out. So they must have paid him a visit and, shook him down a little bit. Maybe said, this place is ours now. You're going to kick money up to us. Whatever the case was, he was very shaken up after that happened. It was speculated that those guys may have been Anthony Mascuzio, Frank DeChico, Sammy the Bull, and Mike Napolitano, who was one of Gotti's drivers around that time. Now, Anthony Mascuzio was a friend of John Gotti's. He once famously brought heroes and other deli food to one of John Gotti's trials to feed the crowds outside the courthouse. It was from his own deli, the one that he owned and ran. Then when Gotti came out, there's a famous picture of them. They shook hands on the way to the limo. Gotti actually paid Anthony like $500 a week to be his driver / bodyguard. Gotti had a weird philosophy about if you keep your men hungry, they'll work for you harder or really go out and do better things. I don't know. Kind of a weird philosophy if you ask me. But Anthony knew him as Black John. Angelo Ruggiero gave him that nickname back in the day for his menacing personality and physical appearance. It was kind of a private nickname, not everybody knew it. You have to remember what this area looked like in those times, the late 70s to really even the late 80s. It was very rough. Even Times Square itself was all strip clubs and prostitutes walking around and drug dealers walking around in the open. It was a very weird place. I'll put some pictures up. You would get off the train to come into Penn Station and instantly be rushed by either someone trying to sell you any kind of drug you could imagine, whatever was popular at those times, and almost any weapon you could imagine. You'd be like, oh, what do you want, some brass knuckles, butterfly knife, switchblade, it was crazy. You get almost attacked by these guys. And that's how the city was back then. And then it was eventually pretty cleaned up, and we're almost back to those times now, but we'll stay off that topic. Okay, so Anthony had a very long police record dating back to the 60s, including pretty much all the regular mob crimes, gambling, robbery, I'm sure some assaults in there. So the Gambino's plan with the club was apparently to take the club from a gay disco to a trendy place for the youth of Brooklyn and Queens. So they took the name from Better Days Disco, they wanted to rebrand, and they changed it to Bedrocks. Bedrox. Nice, cool, trendy spelling, you know. That's pretty much what they do now with these dumb club names. These club names out here are crazy. But David Fisher was running the club for about 18 years, when on June 17th, 1988, Anthony comes into the club, sits down for a drink at the bar, free of course, they pretty much owned the place at that time. But he wasn't just there for a drink. You know how these guys operate. He was there to collect his weekly payment at around 2 a.m. He walks into the basement office with his brown and purple two-tone shoes on, as I saw described in an article. He's there to collect an envelope from David, their weekly envelope. Now, I just know that the standard is weekly. Who knows exactly when they did their pickups on these guys. We're turning onto West 49th now, to the left here. That is where the club was. It's now a Brazilian steakhouse, which is one of those fun places. I don't know if you guys have ever been, but they come out with the meat on the sticks. They cut the meat right off for you. It's a cool place to go. All right, I swung by here before. There was a pretty good amount of parking out front. There we go. See that awning hanging over to the left? Yeah, that's where we're going. Oh, right here. Look at that. So right here is where Bedrocks was. There's an old picture where it says Better Days Disco on it. It's across the street. Okay. Oh, we gotta take a good look at the truck. Can't forget about that. Say hello. Leaving it running, of course. Why wouldn't I? So this is the full place. When they turned it into a steakhouse, they fully changed how it looked. So this is not how it looked back in the day. This changed to a steakhouse in like 07, I think. Right. But look at this nice little area. It's a windy day out here. So the envelope was not ready. When he went down to the basement, David Fisher broke the bad news to him. I'm sure he was not happy himself to having me break that news. Look at all these places here. Snowflake Spa. Doesn't look seedy at all. So the picture where it's Better Days Disco, it's like from this angle. All in black and white. I'm gonna have a seizure over here. So Anthony grabs David and starts beating him with a .32 caliber pistol whipping him in the head. There's actually a Christmas tree up there. Look at that. It's like Christmas in New York right now. I don't know if you guys realize that. Beautiful place inside. Look at that. Oh, hey, hello. You see me? So as he's beating him in the head, David pulls out his own .38 revolver Colt Cobra and fires 5 shots at Anthony. Let's cross over again because I'm not done telling you the story. Fires 5 shots at Anthony Mascuzio. 2 hit him, 1 in the lower left side of his neck and 1 in his back. I assume he got hit in the neck and stunned and maybe turned around a little bit, and the other one hit him in the back. While this is going on, Anthony fires off one bullet of his .32 revolver, missing David Fisher completely. After this, people in the club and the employees of the club heard what was going on. There were gunshots going off in the basement, 6 gunshots in total. So they try and get into the office after, and they couldn't. So police were called. They busted in the door forcefully, and they see David standing over Anthony Mascusio's body. There were signs of a struggle. Like I said, Anthony was getting a pretty bad beating at the time. They found the .32 revolver was unlicensed near Anthony, and they also found a .38 in the room. David was in stable but serious condition in the hospital. He had pretty bad head trauma at the time of the accident. Let's hop back in the truck. Quick outfit check in the cold. And look, we're right by a hydrant. Mooney Dashcam fashion. How you guys gonna let me go out with dirt on my pants? You saw that in the outfit check. You're not gonna let me know? You guys aren't good friends? I'm disappointed. I don't know from where in the world a lot of you guys are watching, but in New York, we pretty much skipped right over fall. We went from like 75-degree days to now, right now, it's probably 30 degrees out, and I am not dressed for it at all. But he was brought to trial for this. He claimed self-defense, and he won. His head was beat in with a pistol. The guy was a known gangster. Look at this car right here. NYP. Let's flip this around real quick. What is that? Blue Suburban? Maybe it's a like a news thing or some kind of police situation? I don't know. Pretty weird. Like I said, he claimed self-defense, and nothing ever came of it. He didn't get convicted. He beat the case, and the mob never came after him. Which I'm very surprised that the mob never came after him. But I don't know. Maybe Mascusio was getting a little bit crazy, and they felt okay that he was dead and gone, or maybe they didn't want any more trouble coming of it because the guy already went to trial for this murder, and if he got murdered, everyone would kind of know why. I don't particularly know why the reason was they never went after him. I'm just speculating, but it is pretty weird. Now, honk at me all you want. I can make a right from the middle lane. You know who I am? Wow, that was pretty bad. So I think that's pretty much everything I have to tell you about this particular incident. Kind of a weird one that I stumbled upon because I did my last video on that bank robbery where Anthony Mascusio's son was the one who robbed a bank, and he became a Gambino associate himself. So, like father, like son, I guess. See you guys in the next one.